Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your man EGlaze Chronicles. I got a friend of mine that I've known for a few years now. He's the athletic director of Georgia State University. Mr. Charlie Cobb used to be, I think he still got a little center in him. He still can, he can move a little bit. He can do a little something back in the day. You still got something in your knees, still can do a little something, Charlie?
Yeah. They just crack when I get up. I've got that age now where I'm also too fat. So
hey,
I get on the bones. That much I do know. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead because I know a lot of people want to know. I haven't heard from the Sun Belt much, and I apologize on that. But currently, right now, where are you guys at about playing fall 2020?
We're like everybody else. We're trying to figure out a way to do it. Most importantly, do it safely and take care of our kids and our coaches and see where it goes. So I think we're in the process of finalizing what our protocols would look like from a testing standpoint. The difference between the college sports and the pro sports is real simple. We can't create bubbles 24/7. We can create them for about probably 12, 15 hours a day. But the other piece of time, kids need to have their opportunity to be teenagers and young adults, and our coaches need to get home to their families. So trying to create what our protocols going to look like from a testing standpoint, and then we feel like we got a pretty good handle on travel. Stay close, stay together, but wear a mask and all the other good things that are floating out there. But I think we all probably in March, April, said, hey, this thing won't last very long. It's a lot to be made of nothing, I think, in some context. And I think as it goes on, the longer we find we just don't really understand what's going on. And you grieve for the people who've been affected by it in a negative way, and those that have been able to make it through without any kind of symptoms. You got lucky in that regard. So just trying to navigate a new world and say your prayers every night for the doctors, the scientists, the nurses that are on the front lines, and hopefully we can find us a vaccine here pretty quick and get back to somewhat normal life.
I think a lot of people don't realize as athletic director, because people think fall sports, they think one sport. They think football, but there are other sports that are affected by this. And how are you guys dealing with those sports as well? I think everybody's like, is there going to be football? That's all I keep hearing. But there are still, I think, if I'm not mistaken, softball and sports like that you have to look into for the fall. And softball maybe more spring. Yeah. But just sports that you have to deal with that people just kind of forget about that are going to be affected by this. And how are you guys approaching the other sports, as they say, that you have to deal with in your athletic department?
This whole thing is, really affected our campus, and let's start there. Just trying the basic idea of what does instruction look like? Is it in person? Is it online? And I'm fortunate to work with some really incredible people on our campus, and led by Dr. Becker, obviously, and then our provost, which a lot of people don't understand in our world what the provost responsibility. That's the chief academic officer, and Georgia State's incredibly fortunate to have a provost, but her name is Wendy Hensel, attorney by trade, and worked in the law school at the university and was the dean of the law school when she transitioned over. But just incredible in terms of all the things that she has to put together to make the faculty, put the faculty in a position to be successful and create content and provide an academic structure that not only keeps them safe, but also keeps our kids safe, but also learning, which is what we're all after. And Tim Rennick heads up our whole student success initiative, and Tim is internationally recognized in this program that Georgia State has really created that unifies kids and gives them an opportunity to earn a college degree in a very successful way, regardless of race, income, nationality, all the demographics, and really just blowing preconceived notions out of the water. So those three in particular, but there's several others on our cabinet for the university that are putting a lot of time, effort, and energy. And one that we don't think about sometimes from the university, from the main campus, but the perimeter campuses are vital for Georgia State, and what Nancy Croft and her staff are doing to really make that a learning environment for kids that are trying to transition into the next stage of life, and then ultimately hopefully come downtown after 2 years. So just a huge cog in what goes on in Atlanta is Georgia State, and I get to see it every day. And then, the small part that is athletics, frankly, softball is a fall sport, but that's in high schools in Georgia. I know that from my daughter's experience. But for us on the college level, I mean, we've got volleyball, both soccer, men's and women's soccer, and then cross country in addition to football. And so really trying to communicate as best I can with our coaches to let them know here's what's going on. And this thing, honestly, it's got so many different tentacles and dynamics to it that every day is a different day. Right now we're, give you an example. One of the things we're trying to walk through is, what's it going to look like for international students? Are we going to be able to get back to the States?
Yep.
For us, in some respects, it's a little bit of an interesting situation because most of our international kids play in our spring sports. We have a couple of soccer players and a couple of volleyball players, but the majority of international kids are either in beach volleyball in the winter or playing our spring sports. And so what does that look like for them and all the politics that are involved in, what it looks like trying to come back into the country. And so, and it's, you hate to walk down this road, but I mean, it's the end of July and we don't really know, and school starts in 3 weeks. Right. We're trying to push it as close to the end as we can. The one thing that I'm as I've told several people, one of the things that it's inspiring is I've got a staff and I got a bunch of kids that they want to come to campus and they want to work out and they want to play and they want to be around each other, and the camaraderie and the teamwork, all the things that we take for granted. I think when you're involved in athletics, and it's it's hard to say, hey guys, we got to wait, be patient, and because right now everybody's like, okay, we've been patient, now let's move on, let's do something. But this thing's not going away, and it's something we've got to learn to live with here in the foreseeable future, and we'll see what we can do.
It's funny you say that students will play. We'll play no matter what. You have to think for us sometimes as college athletes. You have to sit there and say, look, we know everybody wants to play. But the one thing about Georgia State campus as well is that it's pretty broad in the city of Atlanta. So that's a lot of people that's around the school and things of that nature. I know a lot of that goes into it. And I know you got the new dome over there and you built some things and all of that stuff. So how do you I know all of that has to come into play, right? As far as worried about the safety of your students and how they're traveling back and forth to this place and that place. That's a lot of things that you guys have to worry about, especially just not as their student athletes have a lot to worry about. Let me just say it like that.
I got asked the other day, it's like, well, what have you guys been doing the last couple of months? And certainly our thought process and mind is we've been in different places than what would be normal. But if you think about the chronology of the shutdown and the virus, in our world, is I always joke with people as a knuckleheaded administrator. Once you get through basketball season, which we were fortunate to finish our season, and 2 days later we locked down. We've got our spring sports and certainly baseball and softballs and the tracks and tennis. It's fun to be a part of it, but the day-to-day routine for us once football and basketball season are over, for a number of us, it actually slows down a little bit. And so it kind of hit us in a natural void of we're doing budgets and we're doing other things, but we're not traveling as much. Maybe if we travel, it's just the meetings. And then you get into the summer and you take a little bit of a breather and you get ready about the middle of July to what is that next year? And so for us, what's changed about it is a long way to answer your question, but back in June, President Becker set up a committee it started with about 5, and I think we're up to about 8 or 9 of how do we reopen campus. And a lot of this came from guidance that came down from the governor through the system office, Chancellor Wrigley and his staff, and then to the presidents. And then now we're trying to activate it. And it's, how do we set up a plan for some of us essential staff to report back to campus on a consistent basis. Then how do we open up campus for faculty and staff in a larger group, knowing that summer school is going to be online, so we're going to have a lot of students on campus. And then the third thing and where we are right now is how do we open campus and open it safely. And so conversations about elevators and things that you never thought, the
Right,
students or the dining halls,
right.
housing. It's the new norm as you walk around. You go to a building and there's through our facility staff, Ramesh and his crew. And Georgia State's not a small footprint, but it's our facility staff for a campus. We've got their signs, 4 people to an elevator, and there are 4 placards on the floor, and you stand here and you get on that elevator, and you better be wearing a mask, and you want to wipe your hands with sanitizers. It's right by the elevator, and things that we took for granted coming in and out of doors, one way in, one way out, and that's just with a base level of staff that are around. And as we open back up, and we've learned through our own experiences this summer with our football kids, being down, and we let them in one way. We check temperature. Only small groups in the locker room, small lifting groups, small running groups. So we've done all the social distancing pieces. We've trained, and now the rubber meets the road as we get larger groups and more team activities starting to occur.
Answer that athletic word of the college program like Georgia State. How much are you paying attention to what's going on in high schools, not only in Georgia but around the country? Because it's a lot going on, a lot of different states, a lot of different movements, a lot of different times they're playing. But you got to pay attention to all of that because recruiting is still a part of what you guys are going to be doing. So how much are you trying to keep an eye on all the states and teams and things of that nature as an athletic staff?
We're fortunate that Dr. Hines and the GHSA has entrusted us with the host of the state football championship last year, and we have the championships this year and in the next year as well. And so we're obviously very appreciative of that. So to say that we're tracking what the GHSA does. We try not to get in their business, but we certainly like to host high school events in our facilities, and we know a number of coaches. And Dave Hunter who runs the Corky Kell game, is one of my longtime friends, and I'm fortunate to know that old man for a long time, probably half my life. And so what he's trying to do and has done for high school football with the Corky Kell game, and then we're going to host some games hopefully with APS in the season once we get cranked up. So we followed it. The challenge the high schools have that I think the colleges, we've been fortunate to be able to figure out is all around testing. The high schools don't have the resources to test like the colleges, and it's just a different structure. But I do what I do because of the ability to play sports and grow up in it. My dad was a high school teacher, and I know what Friday Night Lights is all about. And grew up in South Carolina from the time I could remember, 3, 4, 5 years old to now. And so I get what high schools mean to local communities and to the larger campus community. That Friday night's important. It's important for a lot of people. And sometimes I think people forget the football kids, it's important to them, but that kid that's in the band or the kid that's on the cheer squad or dance team, it's pretty important for them as well. And mom and dad, they buy a lot of tickets and they do a lot of support to watch your kids compete and participate in those activities as well. So it's just it's a network or a lifeblood of a school. And so I appreciate the high school association and the leadership. I've since being back in Atlanta, I've gotten to know a number of the athletic directors in the metro area, and appreciate what they're trying to do for kids. And if anybody construes it any other way, then they're wrong. It's clearly about trying to help take care of these kids, and high school football is a big deal, but so is volleyball and all the other sports, and it's just it's a big thing. But it's scary. We were talking about the other day. I mean, the state of California said, hey, we're going to play football in the spring, or take the fall sports and play in the spring. And the top high school kids in California come out and say, hey, look, we're going to college early. We're going to enroll early. So I've never. We have a kid on our team that enrolled early this past spring, and we were a couple of us coaches and myself were laughing with him about who in their right mind wants to give up the spring in their high school year. I mean, it's just if there's a greater 6 months in your life than to be that spring of your senior year in high school, and to be in such a hurry to want to go be the low man on the pole, if you will, and go to college. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but kids get in that rush and they get impatient, and but we, it's going to change. I think it's changed, and the one thing that's cool about Georgia, just again having been here the last couple of years and doing the high school games and and that we've done. I mean, you meet some great people, some great coaches, and they love to compete, and they love to coach, and they love the games, but they love those kids too, and that's all you can ask for.
Have you wrapped your head around? I know you talked about a little bit about a limited or no fans approach to sports, starting maybe football going forward, or just going out and it just here. Some of our coaches, we talk a little bit, especially football coaches, we do some things. But what are your thoughts on that? Possibly a limited or maybe no fans in the stands going, for the start of the season.
Yeah, it's have we wrapped our heads around it? Yeah, I got to be honest. When this thing started in March, I had to go to a meeting on campus and basically kind of the marching orders. Let's just spring break. Let's take the week off and we'll figure it out. We had to cancel some games, baseball games in particular, and we were pretty fired up because Brad Stromdahl, new coach, and we were playing as well as we had a great start out of the gate, and you're like, dang man, kind of want to see where this can go, right. And then honestly we're pretty good in tennis as well, and softball we're gotten better. We had a young team and we competing in track. We're always competitive, so we have some things to be excited about with our teams in the spring, and to realize, man, okay. But I had a staff meeting, and I remember I think about it probably. You may find this unique or funny, but probably once a day I think about particular faces that were in that staff meeting that we had at the stadium, because my whole mentality was, guys, look, what we're going to do is we're going to take spring break, and for a lot of us, spring break is something we don't even know what it is, right. And so if you haven't had spring break, then enjoy it. Take a week, clean your yard, do something, maybe watch, whatever, and spend time with your kids, your family. And then for those that have had spring break, just, you do what you want to do. We're probably, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, this is a 2-week pause, maybe a little bit of an overreaction, but let's take 2 weeks. Let's figure out what we're dealing with, and then we'll all be back together. And, that's, I think it was March 16th, March 17th. And as a group, we haven't been back together. We've had several Zoom calls and stuff. But certainly nobody, and I'm the first one to say, I had no expectation that we'd be at the end of July, still trying to figure out, what the fall season looked like. Naively or ignorantly, however you want to, place it. I've read enough about it coronavirus is a cold virus, and I was kind of selfish and bullish about the fact that, once it gets warm, cold viruses run away. And
right.
This thing seems to have come. Not only has it not run away, it seems to have been done the exact opposite. So I think I've given up trying to be a virologist or an epidemiologist or anybody like that, and just say, okay, right. tell me what the facts are. But it's been interesting, and I feel like for us, what I was really appreciative, and I've tried to say this both privately and publicly when I've had a chance, but we did that stoppage, and in the middle of the next week, we pretty much took a very conservative approach financially, and not knowing what the future was going to be, and we stopped spending money. We were working on a couple projects from a facility standpoint. We had a couple other ideas in mind, and we pride ourselves on managing our resources and being financially responsible, and being good stewards of our money, and giving our kids and our coaches a chance to be successful. And so we put the brakes on the financial piece and got a handle of that. And I'm blessed and fortunate to work with some really good people. And our coaches jumped on board, our staff jumped on board. I've gotten to do this a couple of years, and our business manager, our finance director, Alicia Howell, she's as good as I've ever been around. One, and she's got the perfect temperament for being able to tell people no when they won't spend money that they don't have, and it helps me out in that regard. But she was also, and she's going to get mad at me telling you this, but she was pregnant and was going on maternity leave when all this happened, and so she's done an incredible amount of work from a financial standpoint to help us navigate our budget. But our coaches, it wasn't easy, and then as we jumped on it pretty early in April to do a budget for this fiscal year that just started. We asked our coaches to make some severe cuts. We asked our staff to make some severe cuts. We wanted to prioritize kids and their scholarships. We want to prioritize our people, and that meant scholarships and that meant jobs and keeping people employed. And so we had to give up some other things just to basically guard against the unknown. And if I'm kind of a bull about what's going forward, is that we budgeted in a way to basically handle what we're seeing right now, and give our teams a chance to play and be competitive, travel, and we had to give up some extras, but at the end of the day, the necessities that we needed to put teams on the field and coach them and have staffs and have the mentorship that you need from coaches and people around your kids. Not only the core piece of it, but also your academic support staff, the life skills people, I think I'm pretty bullish about what we can do. If we do take a pause in the fall and don't play as much or don't play, the one thing that has given me kind of a renewed hope in times of man, this is really a tough environment is what we saw in our city for the last couple of months, and just the easy thing for me to say is why can't we all get along, and I'd like to think that maybe today the governor kind of backing down on this lawsuit about the mask and all, you'd like to think that cooperative spirit, because I think everybody's after the same thing. It's just a matter of we're probably coming at it from different angles, but I do think this is an incredible opportunity this fall for us to start some real key educational pieces. And if there's a responsibility you and I have for that next generation is to learn and grow. And it's a challenge just when the protests were going on to really truly grasp everything that was going on. Fortunate to have a number of people in my life that I could reach out to and things I didn't quite grasp or understand, give me that perspective. And as a white man, it was pretty cool to be able to have those relationships, but also those conversations. And and I'm not the easiest person, and my wife, she'll choke if she ever listens to this interview with me saying this. I'm not the easiest person to admit when I'm wrong about something, or my opinion is not maybe say the most pressing, most needed voice to be heard, and to be able to sit and listen to people that I believe in and I trust, and then talk with our kids. And I put something out to our staff and to our kids, back when it was going on, and it was, I don't know what it's like to be scared of police riding through your neighborhood. I don't know what it's like to be handcuffed, those kind of things. And so, but I also don't know what it's like to take a hammer and break the plate glass window. I know my grandfather had a small business when I was growing up, and it used to get broken into every now and then. And I know what it's like to take tape and fix that window, but I don't understand that kind of anger and resentment. And so it's what I've always appreciated about sports, that you put that jersey on, you put the helmet on, you put your shoes on, and for that 2 hours at least, you're trying to accomplish the same thing, and hopefully you do that enough times that you start learning and understanding more about the person that's next to you or beside you or behind you or in front of you. So it's a pretty cool thing that we get to do that I think a lot of people don't really grasp or understand, and they don't understand the value in it.
Yeah.
I don't think because they ever were a part of it. And so it's a cool thing.
Let me ask you this. You talked about everything that you've learned and being a leader of a program like Georgia State, and with all that's going on, what you said with the protests, and what did you learn about yourself during this time? Because a lot went on. I mean, you are a leader. We all took stuff for granted. We all just thought, I was already looking at the calendar and looking what games I'm going to go to next year. And but I had to sit back now. And, I'm seeing the young people, like we said, I'm a little older, got a little grays, and I'm seeing what's going on with that. And, then the pandemic and trying to make sure safety was a big thing. What did you learn about yourself during this season of what we're learning? 2020 has just been interesting in its own, but what did you learn about yourself during this time?
Yeah, it's funny you said that because Lindsay and I were sitting on the back porch a couple weeks ago and kind of talking about it in a way that we've always been ones that that you walk in the house and you take some things for granted, but I turn the TV on and the TV is just for noise.
Yeah.
And we don't really get in long conversations or deep conversations, and it's just more of a comfort being around each other so long. But I stayed up when the protest started in Atlanta, and you start seeing them going nationwide, and I've been fortunate to travel, pretty much most everywhere in this country. And I've been to that part of Minneapolis. A friend used to work at the University of Minnesota, and so I've been, just you kind of see places, but you just see the angst and the energy and the passion and I tell you what really struck me out of all of it was there was a still image of the police officer when he had his knee on George Floyd's neck, and they showed there was a still image, and it's kind of one of those eerie photographs, but I kept staring at his eyes, and they were either blank. You can say what you want. They were either blank, or there was hate, or both in those eyes. And because what I couldn't figure out is, George is a big man like you and I, and how's that one guy, holding him down?
Yeah.
And then not realizing there was 3 others involved when you first saw about it, and then you realize what it was all about and the whole process, and it's just like just the anger involved in this, and I remember I just sat one night probably till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was just watching, and I'm a current events guy. I love to watch current events and understand it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I just don't understand. And then I got a couple of buddies that I played with or have been around, and they're police officers a couple of different places around Southeast, and I texted with all of them and saying, man, what is this all about? And it's like, it's just, and those cops aren't the guys I know,
Yeah.
So I'm trying to reconcile. And then what I learned more than anything is I don't know what I don't know. And I hurt in a way. And one of the coolest things we did probably right after that was Sean Elliott, our football coach, asked me if I could get the Georgia State Police Chief, Joe Spillane, who used to be a longtime APD officer. Can we get some of the police from campus and just talk to our kids? They see them all the time because we share facilities at the stadium. And we probably had 12 or 13 officers come speak to the kids that were here and talk about their trials and tribulations, especially as African-American men and a couple Latino police officers and their experiences and how they've dealt with racism and how they've dealt with, the court structure, especially it seems in the Metro Atlanta. There needs to be some serious consideration to how some things are done, and we need to learn, what those opportunities are. But it was just, fascinating is probably not the right word, but it was all inspiring to listen to our kids talk about what they've had to deal with at certain times. One in particular, one kid talking about that, he had a speeding ticket, and then he had to do one other thing to handle probation. I'm gonna butcher the conversation, but he had one thing that was outstanding. Like he had to do, 5 hours of community service or something got messed up in the reporting. And he's from south of the city, and the SWAT team showed up at his house to arrest him for a probation violation.
Wow.
And and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, man, here's a 17-year-old kid, and what's that saying to his family, to his neighbors, and I think he sat in jail for 48 hours before he could get out, before some things that were rolling through, and it was a complete overreaction.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I would never understand that or know that even occurs.
All right.
And so it's there's a lot that needs to happen, and it was just, I think, the impact of, okay, so what can I do, and what do I need to do most importantly for these kids, and I do know that education, and we'll never shy away, and people can laugh or make fun or be ignorant about it, but we're never going to back away from our goal primarily is to give a kid a chance to earn a college diploma and learn on, move and grow. But I do know the statistics about what a college diploma does from an economic standpoint for a person. I think right after all this was going on, the AJC put something out as, a college diploma, the average salary is like $75,000 without a college education is like $35,000. Multiplied over a 30-year working career, and you're changing economic cycles. College also gives you a chance to kind of learn and grow and be around people that you may not agree with or disagree with or whatever, and you get a chance to interact and kind of figure out who you are, but also who other people are. And the amazing things about the tribute that all the stuff in the last couple of weeks with John Lewis. I mean, just amazing. When I started talking about at the age of 17, he did this. At the age of 19, he did this. At the age of 25, he did this. And I'm thinking, dude, and you did more before you were 25. Before I did when I was 50. And
exactly.
But man had passion, and and you sit here and you're like, and it makes me think through, things I've heard growing up in my childhood and coming forward and stuff. And it's like, and I had a chance a couple of years back. He spoke at graduation, so I had a brief interaction with him, and I'm thinking, man, this giant of a man is not a very big man,
Right.
And but man, it just, you hope his legacy lives on, and I've learned to turn the TV off because I just the rancor across the screen on a daily basis has just worn me out. I mean, it's just, and I know I'm not alone with that. It's
Very tiring.
There's blame on both sides of the fence, and there's we can talk about the wedges in this world we live in today and why it's caused that way, and it's unfortunate, but I've turned it off. I'm glad the Braves are playing.
Get some sports.
Yes, but also I think live sports matter in our culture. So it gives us all something to look forward to, and that's why I think we're bullish on trying to play. If we can provide, and if it means people are in the stands, people are in the stands. If it means smaller crowds in the stands, we got to be safe, and we feel pretty good about we can put a ring around the fields, a ring around the courts, and mom and dad are going to get a chance to see their kids play, and beyond that, we'll see what happens.
Last question. I thank you so much, Charlie, for joining me.
It's been good for me. Kind of therapeutic to talk a little bit, to be honest.
And that's why I'm glad we had this conversation. But as best as you know, sir, end it with this. What will the 2021 season look like for Georgia State athletics? As best as you know, I know you still got stuff you're figuring out. But if you had some way you would like to try to see, what would 2021 look for you as far as athletics at Georgia State?
It's funny. Back in around Christmas, I guess it was. I read a lot. It's funny. It's probably one thing I haven't done as much on this because I've been trying to listen, but I like to kind of isolate and just go read. And one of the things that I told our staff we're going to do is we're going to find a word of the year, and everybody's going to have their own individual word, and we're going to put up on a board and just kind of go back to it. And my word for the year was relevance. I wanted us to be relevant in conversations about what was going on within the city, within the Sun Belt, within national conversations, and and I met candidly our teams were playing well, and people want to watch us and be a part of it and come see us play, and Georgia State matters. Georgia State athletics matters to people, and so I kind of keep coming back to that, and I'll say, how do you become relevant? Well, I think it's a process, and what we're into right now, it's a process, and much to the chagrin, I think of some guys on Twitter and some national experts who like to write and pontificate about they were right about this, and they saw this 6 weeks ago and 2 years ago and what how. At the end of the day, we're working on a process to where we can play this fall. If not, then we're going to play this winter. We'll play this spring. And so just stick to our basics, and at the same time, we're going to make sure our kids do their work academically and continue along that path. And there's going to be some increased mental health needs because kids are used to playing, and if you don't have that carrot of playing and practice, making sure kids can grasp. But it's also a trying time, and for kids to understand that this. I had lunch today with a friend of mine who's 75, and he's like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I'm thinking, okay, here's a guy that lived through, he was a child, but, there was a thing called World War II going on. There's been Korea, there's been, several wars and conflicts. And, so it's something for all of us to learn from. And hopefully we don't repeat. And maybe it's, maybe it's made us better people. I think at the end of the day, I think if there's anything that we've all learned, we've all enjoyed being around each other.
Yeah.
We enjoy socialization, and so, maybe it makes us appreciate our neighbors a little bit more than we did before. I know we do. We got a young family that lives next door to us, and it's therapeutic for us to see the 3-year-old and the 7-year-old out playing in the water sprinklers. So it's kind of cool to see that.
Well, I can't wait to hear the crowds roar and see the games and just to see it on TV, just to see it. Thank you so much, Charlie. You have done so much for not only with the Crush and my organization and doing this with me. I appreciate everything you do, sir.
Hey, you just understand one thing, man. For anybody who wants to know, that train horn's going to blow up the stadium again. That much we do know. We know it aggravates enough people. The train horn was live and well.
Train horn got to keep it going, man.
Live and well. So I appreciate it, man. It's always good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to shaking your hand.
You say?
Take care, man.
Thank you, man. Shout out to everybody.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, dude.
Thank you, brother.